Hey everyone, Pupsker here. We actually have the Borderlands 4 weekly reset, and with that we have the update patch notes where there are about 1 billion buffs for every single one of the Vault Hunters. So let's take a quick look. The Maurice's vending machine, black market vending machine, is over here in the bottom left of the map area. If you zoom out, it's just right there. If we take a look at some other stuff, we do have the Moxxi's big Encore driller hole fight over here, if anyone wants to grind that out a bit. And we also have for the wildcard mission, Means of Ascent. Tricky, deflector, cold-hearted. All in all, shouldn't be too terrible. I still need to catch up on my Borderlands 4 stuff because as you can see, I've fallen behind. A lot of quests to complete, so yeah, that's my bad. Either way, if you want to support the channel, sub, like, use Epic Games creator code Pupsker if you ever buy anything in Borderlands or anything else on the Epic Games Store to help support the channel. But we do have the Borderlands 4 update patch notes for Borderlands October 2nd, 2025. Update patch notes. Quickly TLDR this, or just read it. This update includes additional balance changes and updates for Vault Hunters. Welcome to our first significant balance patch. High-level goal for Borderlands 4 is to always provide players with tools and means to build their perfect Vault Hunter. Through combinations of gear, firmware, skills, specializations tree, we want players to experiment, theorycraft, put them to the test in combat. For today's update, we wanted to focus on creating greater build diversity, adjusting underperforming skills. Amon in particular gets a host of adjustments, bring him closer in line with the general power level of other Vault Hunters. Vex's summons and Rafa's melee power see adjustments, those build more viable in late endgame. Yay. Finally, Harlowe has a couple tweaks to make sure stasis is getting value for players. Looking to the future, we're investigating stats and behaviors on class mods, rep kits, shields, and firmware to make sure they are providing avenues to greater build diversity. We are also planning to fix a number of unintended interactions. These exploits prevent us from creating meaningful build diversity as they trivialize content that is otherwise meant to challenge players. We're excited about the future of Borderlands 4's post-launch roadmap. This is just the start of an exciting year of updates, content, and we can't wait to experience with all our community. Okay, whatever. Restart your game to ensure update goes through. Contact, right. Change list, weekly activity. We already looked at these, but weekly big Encore boss has switched to a tougher variant of a different existing boss with an even more rewarding loot pool for those that take it on. Weekly wildcard mission has changed. These missions feature a guaranteed legendary drop that you can repeatedly earn to get your ideal role. Maurice's black market vending machine moved to another location, changed its offerings. Remember, location is the same. Your vending machine items are different for other players, so ask around to see if someone has items you're looking for. Additional changes, added auto-clearing of Borderlands 4 stale shaders on version update. Hallelujah! Shaders are, they fixed them a bit, preventing performance degradation on some PCs. This hit me. I already fixed my shader issue, gave myself 100 gigs of cache, and deleted it myself, but thank God they smartened up. Character balance adjustments. Oh my god, Harlowe gets 2 things. 0-point stasis slam damage and stasis immune damage go up. Boom. That's it. That's freaking it. Dang, Harlowe OP apparently, I had no idea. Rafa. Action skill, Apophis Lance, damage up, 10%. Capstone People Person, Project Raikou, damage now scales 12% per second, up from 10. Basilisk Project, damage increase 15. Basilisk Hazard damage increase 25. And Gorgon damage increase 17. Not bad. Passive People Person, El Catrine, critical hit damage increased to 8% from 7 per point. Bonus shock damage increased to 8% from 7 per point. And then per my last, double damage chance increase 6 from 5% per point. Okay. Action skill. Arc knives. Melee attack damage increased 12% and dash damage increased 5%. Sweet. Passive this year's gimmick. Handshake deal. Melee damage increased to 9% from 7. To the last, skill damage increased to 8% from 6% per point. Okay. El Perigus, splash damage increased to 9% from 7% per point. Liquidation, damage increased by 50%. Oh, that's big. No, that's big. Collaborative ignition, bonus damage increased to 8% from 6% per point. Okay. Synergia. Duration increase from 14 seconds, or to 14 from 12. Melee damage increased 4% from 3% per point. MPJ, action skill duration increased 7 from 6% per point. So overall, big buffs for Rafa, not bad. And then Vex is huge, right? Like, look at all that. Also, a big amount of buffs here. Action skill Incarnate, phase explosion damage increased 16.6. Eldritch blast damage increased 9.5. Augments Vexillation, energy, vampire damage increased 25%. Capstone's Vexillation. Heart's Piercer, damage increased 22. Desecration hazard damage increased 50. Desecration airborne burst damage increased 48. And then Geist wave damage increased by 41%. That's freaking huge. Nice. Summons, much bigger. Passives, Vexillation. Radiant Attunement now deals 7% splash, up from 6. Dreadlight hazard damage increased by 100%. Ars Arcana now increases skill damage by 9% from 8% per point. Not bad. Action skills, Phase Familiar. Trouble health increased by 10%. Yay, this is me. Trouble damage increased by 21.9%. Oh, my trouble's gonna be so jacked. Hell yeah. Violent Outburst damage increased 12.5% with Here Comes Trouble. And Vorpal Fang damage increased 34%. Capstone, Here Comes Trouble. Trouble Bubble damage increased 33%. Cool. Passives, Here Comes Trouble. Blood is Magic now increase action skill damage by 8% from 7% per point. Claw and Bang now increase melee damage by 8% from 6% per point. Passives, the Four Seal. Fell Inscription's melee damage increased to 7% from 6% per point. Reoccurrence now increases melee damage by 0.2% per stack from 0.16% per point. Okay. Haraspex, Phase Dagger damage increased 11.7%. Awesome. Last but certainly not least, the buttload of Amon buffs. Buttload of them, chat. Okay? There are so goddamn many. Action skill Scourge. Scourge has had its maximum vengeance increased by 50%, making it able to absorb more damage and deal more damage with Forge Whip when consumed. Forge Whip damage increased by 27%. Sick. Augments Vengeance. Blast Shield damage increased 45. Molten Rebuke damage increased 86%. Eternal Winter Massive Forge Wave damage increased by 100%. Holy shit, those are huge. Storm Lance damage increased 52%, and then Storm Lance Detonation damage increased by 10%. Not bad. Capstone Vengeance. Glacial Rapture Capstone now has a 60-second cooldown, down from 70 seconds. Glacial Rapture Forge Whip damage increased by 16%. Glacial Rapture Fissure damage increased by 41%. And Wrathful damage increased by 46%. Actually, huge buffs. Big yawns, but huge buffs. Vengeance passives. Scorched Kairos, damage 6%, up from 5. Battleborn, gun damage from 4%, up from 3. Not bad. That one was ordnance. Scar Tissue, maximum health ret kit healing, up by 9% from 8. Eternal action skill duration by 5%, up from 4. World Breaker damage increased 50%. Winter's Kiss now increases damage dealt by 10%, up from 8% per point. And then Strike the Anvil now deals 15% of the damage dealt, up from 12% per point. Actually, huge buffs there. Action skill Crucible, Forge Axe damage increased 12%. Double Edges Twin Forged Axe damage increased by 10%. Not as bad. Augments Cybernetics. Axe and Stones action skill cooldown restoration increased to 40% from 33. Ordnance and cooldown. Endless War gun damage taken increased to 20% from 15% per stack. Hour of Hammer Forge Hammer damage increased by 14%. Blade Tempest Forge Sword damage increased 13%. Blade Tempest Forge Sword detonation damage increased by 4%, so smaller but still nice. Capstone Cybernetics Snowball damage increased 38. Storm Surge impact damage increased 10. Storm Surge 4 storm damage increased by 60. And then Conflangerang Capstone Fire Trail damage increased by 100%. Oh, that's actually big. Almost done. Holy crap, there's just so many though. Oh my god. Anyways, passive Cybernetics. Everything's buffed. Gathering Storm increases elemental damage 3%. Executioner and now increases crit hit damage by 4%. Destruction Engine now increases Forge skill damage by 6% and Detonation skill damage or detonation damage by 8%. Tempered Pyre Forge Axe damage increased 19%. Tempered Ice Forge Hammer damage increased by 18%. Masterwork now increases Forge Throne's duration by 10% and damage by 10%, duration by 8%. Tempered Lightning Forge Sword damage increased 13%. Lightning Rod Elemental Bolt now deals 40% of the damage dealt, up from 30% per point. Escalation now increases Forge Drone's attack speed, movement speed by 5%, up from 3% per point. Honed Point now increases Forge Drone's critical hit chance by 5%, up from 4% per point. And Heat Exchange now increases Cryo and Incendiary damage by 8%, up from 7% per point. Not bad. Action skills, Onslaughter. Shield regeneration for Onslaughter increased to 15% per second. Onslaughter's rocket punch damage increased by 78%. Molten Slam now has a 60-second cooldown. And now Molten Slam has increased 50% damage. Augments for Calamity. Fell Frost damage increased by 71%, and Fulminating Fist damage increased 69%. Nice. Capstone's Calamity, Cleave, now has a 55-second cooldown. Horcleave damage increased 11%. Horcleave detonation damage increased 18%. Molten Royal now has a 70-second cooldown. Storm Cutter now has a 65-second cooldown. Storm Cutter damage increased by 65%. Last passives for Calamity. Heavy Plate now increases maximum shield capacity by 7%. Wield the Storm now increases status effect damage and status effect duration by 7%. Tritanium Knuckles now increases melee damage by 8%. Tritanium Knuckles now increases skill damage by 8%. Harbinger now increases melee damage by 2%. Mortal Flare damage increased by 22%. Lastly, Judgment now increases melee damage by 10%, up from 8% per point. So, that is the amount of Borderlands 4 updates this week in buffs. It's actually massive, and I am not mad. If we take a look, my Vex should technically be a lot stronger. What I'm doing is I'm doing a generic-ish Trouble crit build with me stacking over here with, like, I'll do crit hit against anything. I'll have my bleed, and then I'll also have some of that Vex and minion gun damage increase. We'll see how it all ends up working out. Not a perfect build, I'm just having fun with it. But maybe now it's a good idea for me to spec on over to Incarnate. Either way, everybody, let me know what you think, and if you want to support the channel, you can subscribe, like, check out Twitch, sub on Twitch, join the YouTube membership, or you can use Epic Games creator code Pupsker to support the channel. At the end of the day, anything helps, so thank you.